All right, it's week 7 in our whole Bible read along. So I hope you're enjoying the progress you're making. This week we're going to continue reading in the book of Numbers. Now, as you're doing that, you're going to see the pattern that we've been introduced to in the Torah, in these sections of law, especially from Exodus and into Leviticus and now into Numbers. The pattern is going to continue. God gives his law, and then we see narrative, and the narrative is mostly about how Israel doesn't obey the law and experiences some form of judgment from God, but also mercy from God as well. So Israel's failure and the way that it is met with God's justice and judgment and mercy is an ongoing pattern here in the book of Numbers. Now, in this story, there's a way in which Israel's failure is going to come to a climax. God is going to tell Israel to send a spy from every tribe into the promised land over on the other side of the Jordan, see what the land is like and report back. And as they do, well, I learned a song when I was young. 12 men went to spy on Canaan, 10 were bad, and two were good. Okay, however you did the hand motions. 10 of them say, we're not going in there. Those people are too big or too strong. They're going to whoop us. But 2 of them, Caleb and Joshua, say, no, it's a land flowing with milk and honey, just like God said. God will give us this land. Well, God essentially says to Israel, look, if you want to be like these spies, if you don't want to go into the land, that's fine. You can die in the wilderness. And so that's what happens to this generation, the generation of the wilderness. They see the mighty acts of God. They see the plagues. They see the crossing of the Red Sea. They see all the ways that God has provided for them. Manna in the wilderness, water from a rock. And what do? They don't believe. And Jesus later in the Gospels will use the expression, this generation, to kind of remind us of those people as he talks about the people who see him and yet don't believe what God is doing. Now, this failure extends to Moses himself. Israel's grumbling about water, as they do, and Moses strikes a rock and says, how much longer must we contend with you? Acting as if he and God are on the same side, and he has nothing to do with Israel. Well, God says, okay, Moses, you're not going in either. You're going to remain on the outside. You're going to be part of the wilderness generation. He's a man of unclean lips who lives among a people of unclean lips. He belongs to his own nation. Now, there's stories in this section of Numbers that seem very strange to us. Israel, as an expression of God's justice, is going to be bitten by poisonous snakes. And God is going to tell Moses, put a bronze snake on a pole and put it up in the middle of the camp, and anyone who looks at that bronze snake will be delivered. So in this story, God's justice is being meted out, but there's also God's blessing, which is happening there. That combination is there. Another strange story is the story of Balak and Balaam. Balak is a neighboring king. He doesn't like the Israelites, and he tells Balaam, who he understands as a prophet, a spokesman for the gods, he wants him to curse Israel. But when Balaam tries to curse, he can't. He can only bless Israel. This is a reminder of the way that God said to Abraham back at the beginning, I will bless those who bless you, and those who curse you I will curse, and by you I will bless all the families of the earth. Now, interestingly in this, Balaam is going to say about the tribe of Judah in Israel that the scepter will not depart from Judah, that he sees the star of God rising in Judah. This is a reference to the coming king from the people of Judah, David, but more importantly, King Jesus. So these stories, these unusual stories that combine God's justice and God's mercy, it's interesting how they come up in the New Testament. That story of the bronze snake, Jesus will use that in the Gospel of John. He will say, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up. Jesus' crucifixion is going to be kind of the fulfillment of the story of that bronze snake. So by now you should realize that as you're reading the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, they're really a diverse collection of literature, but with a unified expression, a unified perspective. God is just, but God is merciful, and so he is patient with stubborn, weak humanity. And even as he is determined to fulfill the promise that he has made to overcome human rebellion and stubbornness. So that's going to be the ongoing story of the Bible. You're beginning to get that now. All right, hope you're enjoying your reading. We hope that this is becoming a habit which you benefit from, even on the hard days, even when you're kind of stuck in some of the more boring parts of the Pentateuch. We hope that you're able to see that bigger picture. God bless you as you continue reading.